Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, India's G20 presidency in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions and commemorations. So, registration form link has been shared in the chat box. Those who have not registered are requested to kindly register. It is mandatory. So today we have two major commemorations at international level. One is at UN Global Road Safety Week for this entire week, and the other commemoration is International Day of Families. Today, on the occasion of International Day of Families, with the theme for 2023, Demographic Trends and Families. The global life expectancy at birth reached 72.8 years in 2019, an improvement of around 9 years since 1990. By 2030, nearly 12% of the world population will be 65 years of age or older. By 2050, an average longevity globally is to reach around 77.2 years of age. This means we have a huge population of elders, that is senior citizens. So we need to engage them productively so that they live a very productive and positive life. They are the greatest think tank of any country because they have so much of vast experience. Say if they have started their career or their occupation around 20 or 25 also, they have almost 5 to 6 decades, over 6 decades or at least 4 to 5 decades of experience in whatever occupation, profession they have chosen. So they are a great resource for the planet and also for the country, and also not just limited to the nation, but also to the communities and especially to the families. So today, on the occasion of International Day of Families, we need to recognize that we need to get along with our elders, seniors, because they have a lot of rich experience where they can give us guidance and can help us in moving forward. At the same time, it also gives importance to the elders, especially because they have so much of vast experience and they have seen almost everything in their life. And now it is for them also to give independence and freedom to the youngsters. It's not that, because you have enjoyed all your life. You have seen your childhood, you have seen your adulthood, you have seen your middle age, everything you have gone through. And you have enjoyed it. You have, maybe some might have ruined it, or some might have learned it, some might have built it, some might have destroyed it. So everyone has their own kind of experiences. But, everyone had certain degree of freedom to choose, freedom to decide. Similarly, as elders, it is our responsibility to ensure that the younger generations are also given certain level of freedom. And we may not enforce, we need not enforce our decisions on them. Instead, we guide them, we mentor them wherever required, so that they will not repeat the same mistakes which we and earlier generations might have repeated. So it should always be like a reference rather than imposing on them. That again, leading to a lot of issues. Today, these are the trends that is happening today. Unfortunately, this family systems are getting affected because the families, either both extremes on the standard deviation, if we take, the other side is the infants, the children, the toddlers, and the other side of the curve, if you see, we have these senior citizens, that is elderly people. And in the middle, we have these millennials, Z generation and all. Now, in the both extremes are suffering because of these families trends. What is happening to the families? Joint families are becoming rare. So there is no lack of social support, emotional support, psychological support, financial support, and various other forms of support that we used to get earlier in the form of joint families. We used to have huge families, right? Starting from individual nuclear family, extended family, and our relatives, blood relations, maternal, paternal. So we had a great support within our family systems. But what is happening nowadays? Because of that family systems breaking down, Today, we are seeing the current trends of nuclear families and single parent families, and sometimes not even single parent families, but living in relationships, more of or one night stands, and various other relationships. Now, even LGBTQI, now even same sex marriages are also, being brought into this marriage and family system. So these are the various trends that are under this, and due to which the families are getting transformed. One positive side and the other negative side. So these trends are both negatively impacting and also positively impacting. Because certain families are still not able to exercise considerable freedom in decision making, in the deliberation of power and authority within the family members. They are breaking up because the younger generations are no longer willing to be with them because they also want to enjoy their freedom. So this lack of understanding, lack of proper understanding, that is making things even worse. So everyone, in fact, whoever it may be me, it may be you or anyone, we all would like to have certain degree of freedom. We don't want each and everything to be decided by someone. What we eat, what we wear, and how do we behave, and what we do every minute of our life. This is what, causing a lot of problems, issues in families. Either we are taken for granted, or we are neglected, we are abused, or mistreated. So these things, both the sides, the extremities becoming over possessive or completely neglected. In the extreme side, being abusing or torturing them, or even to the extent of killing them, eliminating. So these are the various trends that are happening because lack of proper understanding. That we need to understand that there should be considerable freedom, especially when we are talking about adults, elders, because to retain that social fabric in the families, joint families, now it lies because having more experience, having more maturity, having more understanding. Now, who holds the greater responsibility of holding everyone together is with the elders. Because youngsters or teenagers or middle-aged people are still in the process of learning. In the process of learning, they are not only trying to adjust themselves, adapt themselves, but also trying to deal with the elders. And some are very good, supportive, trying to adapt to the changing trends and needs, and some are still in their age, in their days. Basically, it is also creating lot of issues and problems. Now, what needs to be done? So this continuous stress, that is push and pull, is creating a lot of issues in the families. And with the advent of technologies, the digital divide within the family and the digital gap that has created, that has also strained the human relationship. We are connected with each other, but not with relationships. We are not with emotions. More or less, our homes, sweet homes, or our houses, or our dwellings are more or less becoming a kind of boarding and lodging services because of lack of emotional, social connect, psychological connect between the family members, or close social fabric or emotional fabric within the family members are being or getting strained due to these trends. So let's look at further information about today's commemoration and also look at various trends and challenges. So globally, over 23% of the individuals, equating to over 1 billion people, live in slums in urban areas. Estimates show that growth of 1% in an urban population increases the incidence of slums by 5.3% in Asia, 2.3% in Africa. An estimated 2% of the global population is homeless, and an additional 20% live in inadequate housing. So, in the late 2022, the world population has reached 8 billion people, characterized by the United Nations Secretary General as a milestone human development. This landmark even illustrates major advances in health, extending human lifespans, populating growth to continue a bit at a decreasing rate. It is projected to reach 9.8 billion in 2050 and 11.2 in 2100, rising concerns about the prospects of sustainable urbanization and management of climate change. So demographic change is one of the most important megatrends impacting our world and the life as well as being of families worldwide. Demographic trends are mostly shaped by fertility and mortality patterns. Declining fertility rates result in the benefits for families. They are more able to invest in their children's health and education, which in turn helps with poverty reduction and better socio-economic development. Research indicates that decreasing fertility also increases labor participation. On the other hand, fertility declines results in smaller families, which are likely to cope with care and other household obligations. As such, in time of unemployment or illness, families have fewer members to rely on. Moreover, low fertility rates may undermine labor forces and social structures, triggering drastic responses with hard to predict consequences for issues ranging from social security to gender equality. The 2022 International Day of Families observance is to raise awareness of the impact of demographic trends on families which includes leaving no one behind in an aging world presentation, launch of background paper on the impact of demographic trends, and integration, intergenerational equity and solidarity, and recommendations of policies in response to demographic trends, presentation of civil society initiatives for IYF plus 30, and interactive discussions. If you look at the background of this day, how it started, during the 1980s, the United Nations began focusing attention on the issues related to the family. In 1983, based on the recommendations of the Economic and Social Council, the Commission for Social Development in its resolution on the role of the family in the development process in 1983 by 23 requested the Secretary General to enhance awareness among decision makers and the public of the problems and needs of the family as of effective ways of meeting those needs. In the resolution 1985 by 29 of 29 May 1985, the Council invited the General Assembly to consider the possibility of including in the provisional agenda of its 41st session an item entitled Families in the Development Process, with a view to consider a request to the Secretary General to initiate a process of development of the global awareness of the issues involved, directed towards governments, intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations, and public opinion. Later, based on the recommendations of the Commission for Social Development, formulated in its 30th round of sessions, the Assembly invited all states to make their views known concerning the people, possible proclamation of an International Year of the Family, and to offer their commitments, comments, and proposals. The Council also requested the Secretary General to submit to the General Assembly at its 43rd session a comprehensive report based on the comments and proposals of member states on the possible proclamation of such a year and other ways and means to improve the position and well-being of the family and intensify international cooperation as part of the global efforts to advance social progress and development. In the resolution 44 by 82 of 9th December 1989, the General Assembly proclaimed the International Year of the Family in 1993. The General Assembly decided in a resolution that 15th May of every year should be observed as the International Day of Families. This day provides an opportunity to promote awareness on issues relating to families, to increase the knowledge of social, economic, and demographic process affecting families. On 25th September 2015, the 193 member states of the United Nations unanimously adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, a set of 17 goals aiming to eliminate poverty, discrimination, abuse, and preventable deaths, address environmental destructions, and usher in an era of development for all people everywhere. Families and family-oriented policies and programs are vital for achievement of many of these goals. So these goals, family policies, are a mainstay of national public policies and the most meaningful vehicle for governments to influence the living standards of upcoming generations. As part of achieving the global ambitions of the Sustainable Development Goals, Family policies play an important part in meeting targets across many of the goals. New data reveals population anxieties are widespread and governments are increasing, adopting policies aimed at raising, lowering, maintaining fertility rates. But efforts to influence fertility rates are very often ineffective and can erode women's rights. According to this year UNFPA landmark report, 8 million lives, infinite possibilities, a case for rights and choices. As an instrument that highlights emerging issues in the field of sexual and reproductive health, the State of World Population Report 2023 also urges a radical rethink of how countries address changing demographics.
In 2022, the global population reached 8 billion because people are living longer, healthier lives. Yet alarmist rhetoric is circulating, often blaming fertility rates.
Poor people have too many children. Certain ethnicities have too many children.
Un faible taux de fécondité signifie qu'il n'y aura pas de renouvellement de la
Es
population.
necesario considerar limitar el número de niños.
Are there too many people? Too few? These are the wrong questions. Instead, we should ask whether women are able to make their own reproductive choices. The answer, often, is no. 44% of women can't make choices about their reproductive health, contraception, and whether to have sex.
Como mujer, me dijeron que no era natural para mí no querer tener hijos.
Due to very low fertility rates in my country, contraception is provided in a very negative manner.
Une femme doit souvent changer de trajectoire professionnelle lorsqu'elle veut un enfant.
Yo lloré por años.
Women are not machines for reproduction. Every person should be empowered to create the family and future of their choosing.
Toute personne a le droit de choisir de se marier ou d'avoir un enfant.
8 billion people can be equivalent to 8 billion opportunities.
To this end, we must take forward the legislative developmental act of
The world has reached 8 billion, and I'd love to tell you what this means for us. The world reaching 8 billion is not a catastrophe. In fact, it's a grand success globally. More people are surviving, life expectancy has increased across the world, healthcare has improved, and more people are thriving. It would be a catastrophe if governments can't prepare for what's coming in the next few decades. The population of mankind is not likely to keep rising forever, at least as current predictions show. What we see is a peak predicted in about 2080s, thereafter a plateau, and after 2100, we'll have to wait and see. A feature of today's population is how diverse it is in different countries of the world. Imagine, for example, that there are 8 countries that are going to be responsible for half of all global population growth between now and 2050. At the other extreme, we have more than 60% of the global population today already living in a country that is below replacement fertility. And more than 50 countries are already in population decline. Another example of population diversity around the world is age. The median age in Europe right now is 41.7 years. In sub-Saharan Africa, the median age is about 17 years. That difference is greater than it's ever been in human history that we have record. Long ago, everyone was young, so to speak. Life expectancy was low across the world, so most countries were similar to one another in being young. Eventually, with time, we probably expect, with more life expectancy and declining fertility, that most countries will be older. We're in a fascinating window right now in human history where we have this grand diversity between old countries and young countries simultaneously. We don't see a baby boom. In fact, the pace at which the global population was growing peaked back in 1964, when it was growing at more than 2.2% per year. Now, right now, it's less than 1%. It took 12 years for us to grow from 7 to 8 billion. It will take us 14 and a half years to reach 9 billion, and then it will take us more than 20 years to get to 10 billion. Birth rates go down for many reasons. And what we've observed for years, since approximately the 70s, is that where we see an increase, for example, in women's education, children are more likely to be healthy, children are more likely to survive, and women are more interested in regulating their fertility, adopting contraception, and having fewer children. So while we think about reproductive rights, historically, it's very much about enabling women in couples to avoid pregnancies that were unwanted. Today, we have to recognize that reproductive rights embraces also enabling people to have wanted children. Where development has been successful and progresses, we see that these are countries in large measure where women have reproductive rights and choices. That women's agency, their bodily autonomy, are essential to development. They are in fact hallmarks and indicators of development and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. So it's imperative for us to fulfill the Sustainable Development Goals and to make education universally accessible and affordable for all children. In many countries of the world today, what we see also is that people aspire to more children than they're actually having. Across Europe, we saw a diversity of responses in terms of birth rates and the pandemic. In the majority, countries actually had a decline in birth rates 9 months after the onset of the pandemic, when lockdowns were happening. And that seems to have been relatively temporary. Those numbers have rebounded in the majority of countries. This is not unusual. This is similar to what was observed in the Great Depression. It was observed in the flu epidemic of the early part of the 20th century. In periods of economic uncertainty, history shows us that people postpone getting pregnant, that births decline, and those recover in almost all cases within a relatively short period of time. And that seems to be the impact of COVID. One of the great successes of 8 billion is it means that increasing life expectancy is no longer something which is only visible among the wealthier populations of this world, but it's growing and increasing. Child mortality is down, infant mortality is down, maternal mortality is down. These are huge successes for all of us. And 8 billion is 8 billion people who will develop unique, original, creative ideas to make the world a better place.
So at one side, it is positively, optimistically, we are having more opportunities. At the other side, there are greater challenges as well. So hopefully, let's work towards possibilities. So let's look at other commemoration of the day. The UN Road Safety Week. The UN General Assembly mandated World Health Organization and UN Regional Commission to plan and host periodic UN Global Road Safety Weeks to serve as a plan for global and regional, but mainly national and local activities to raise awareness about road safety issues and to stimulate and advance responses as appropriate for these settings. So we'll get back to that. Let's move on to next commemorations. Because we have this entire week, we will also look into various aspects. And today is also commemorated as International MPS Awareness Day. So this day serves as a means to spread awareness of mucopolysaccharidosis or MPS disorders. So MPS Society, this mucopolysaccharidosis disorders, MPS Society members do their best to educate and create awareness about the diagnosis, symptoms, and management of MPS every year. This mucopolysaccharidosis is a genetic lysosomal storage disease caused by the body's inability to produce a specific enzyme. The missing or insufficient enzyme prevents cells from recycling waste and resulting in the storage of materials in the cells throughout the body. MPS has over 40 hereditary illnesses caused by the failure of lysosomal organelles. So this MPS is a group of metabolic disorders caused by lack of specific enzymes required to break down sugar, carbohydrates that aid in bone, skin, and connective tissue building. Individuals with MPS fail to produce enough enzymes needed to break down these sugars chains into simpler molecules or produce enzymes that do not work properly. This results in permanent damage to cells and affects an individual's physical appearance, organs, and system function. There are many forms of MPS and their prevalence is estimated to be 1 in 25,000 births. The first description of the disorder was made in 1970 by Dr. Charles Hunter, who identified MPS type 2. By 1990, Gertrude Hurler identified and described two cases similar to Hunter's observation, and her findings led to the Hurler and Hunter syndrome recovery. The diseases were discovered to be same in 1968. In the same year, the Hunter syndrome was considered a less severe variant of the Hurler syndrome. By 1978, the Lawrence released a publication distinguishing both diseases as two separate diseases. It was only in 1968 that the disorders were hypothesized to be due to pure mucopolysaccharide breakdown. In the present time, seven distinct clinical types and numerous subtypes of mucopolysaccharidosis have been identified. Although each case of MPS is clinically different, most patients have a period of normal development followed by a decrease in physical or mental function. Depending on the MPS type, individuals may experience cognitive deficits, developmental delays, or several behavioral issues. Many people suffer from hearing loss to neurosensory damage or both. Unfortunately, there is no cure for these disorders. The treatment utilized is aimed at improving the individual's quality of life. The first description of MPS discovered by Dr. Charles Hunter is named Hunter syndrome. In 1970, Gertrude Hurler identifies and describes symptoms similar to the conditions identified in Hunter syndrome in 1990. And the Hurler and Hunter syndromes are identified as a buildup of mucopolysaccharidosis in 1952, and the National MPS Society is founded to promote patient advocacy, genetic counseling, and other services to MPS patients and their families in 1970. So the life expectancy of an MPS patient is between 10 to 20 years, depending on one's lifestyle and severity. And these mucopolysaccharides are long chains of sugar molecules that are often found in mucus and fluids around the joints of the body. Sanfilippo syndrome is a type 3 MPS disorder. It is a rare autosomal recessive lysosomal storage disease that primarily affects the brain and spinal cord. So you can volunteer and make donations in the form of cash or kind to the organizations affiliated with MPS research and advocacy, and share awareness so that we can bring more awareness among the people. And MPS is a hereditary genetic disorder, and it is genetically inherited. The severity of MPS symptoms varies in individuals, and MPS 7 or slice syndrome is the least common types of MPS. MPS can be diagnosed from clinical examination of mucopolysaccharidosis in urine. Enzyme replacement therapy is used as a treatment for MPS to reduce non-neurological pain and symptoms. Today, is also commemorated as International Kangaroo Care Awareness Day. It aims to increase the safety, implementation, research, awareness, and education about kangaroo care. Especially, it hopes to bring attention to the positive physiological and psychological benefits of kangaroo care. Do not mistake or misunderstand the kangaroo care with the animal, but it is the human health, how the animal, kangaroo, takes care of her baby by keeping it in its own sac. In the same way, when mothers take care of their babies in a similar way, there is an emotional connect, psychological and physiological connect and benefits between the mother and the child. So this International Kangaroo Care Awareness Day, or in fact, is also known as Kangaroo Mother Care or KMC Day, was founded on May 15, 2011 by Emily Jackson to increase the safety, implementation research, awareness, and education about kangaroo care globally. So, one popular way celebrating Kangaroo Care Day is facilitating a kangaroo thon, which is a friendly competition between or about which baby is held the longest period of time. Jackson is an ergonomics PhD engineer and the mother of Zachary, a former micro preemie who was born on May 15, 2001. Jackson and her husband held Zach using kangaroo care in the NICU, and it saved his life when his life support systems equipment failed when Zach was 3 weeks old and weighed just over 2 pounds. So Zach survived and thrived against incredible odds. Today he is in college. So Jack's life mission and transformational desire to improve healthcare, development, neuroprotection, and mental health of hospitalized babies and families. So Dr. Edgar Ray and Dr. Hector Martin first suggested it in Bogota, Colombia, the start of kangaroo care in 1978. Clark is one of the first to try kangaroo care in the United States with her son Danny at a hospital in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1989. Dr. Emil Jackson establishes the day to promote kangaroo care, saves the life of her son Zachary in 2011. And the Gates couple gives $7,466,490 to the World Health Organization to study the impact of kangaroo mother care for preterm and low birth weight babies by Bill and Melinda's Fund in October 2016. So studies show that starting kangaroo mother care immediately after birth can save up to 150,000 children, more lives each year in 2025. They are quite comforting results. So, if it is possible, it should be done immediately after birth. It can last through the entire postpartum period or around 12 weeks that kangaroo care can be continued. And the core component of kangaroo care is skin-to-skin contact and its core component. Other components like breastfeeding and follow-up care are context-specific. Practicing kangaroo care for at least 1 hour is recommended. It can also be done for long as the mom or the parent and baby are comfortable. So it can be done with both mom and dad, both the parents. Look for legitimate charities and you can contribute to them. A sincere hug produces the love hormone, oxytocin, the happy hormone, and the feel-good hormone, serotonin. It can reduce stress, make you feel happy. Hug someone you care about, a partner, a friend, or a child. It will benefit you both. Volunteer to do childcare, errands, or housework. It's important that moms feel supported to be able to give the best care to their families. Make sure you are healthy, can pass the illness to your child if you are sick. So it's best to wait until you are feeling better. Ideally, you should spend at least 60 minutes of skin-to-skin contact with your baby. Avoid smoking. Don't use perfume to see that you don't have rashes, cold sores, or open skin lesions. Avoid drinking and smoking. Steer clear of these unhealthy habits for your baby as well as yourself. Turn off any gadgets and focus on your baby by using this quiet time to read or sing to them, or also to understand their communication and behavior. Handling a newborn can be daunting, more so if it's your first time. Such close contact with the baby makes a mom feel that she can look after her newborn properly. Skin-to-skin contact isn't just for moms and babies. Dads can also participate in kangaroo care. Breastfeeding an infant can be challenging. Moms have reported an improvement in their milk supply while practicing kangaroo care. So it is increasing a mother's breast milk supply. So better immunity and better nutrition for the baby. Today is also International Conscientious Objectors Day. So this day celebrates every individual who has and continues to resist war in many ways, including the refusal to participate in the military structure. The day was created by the Peace Pledge Union to raise awareness about and honor conscientious objectors. On this day, individuals and organizations around the world congregate to show their appreciation for conscientious objectors and the impact they have done on the military history of the world. It is celebrated almost every corner in the world, from Colombia to Turkey, Serbia to United States. A conscientious objector is an individual who has claimed the right to refuse to perform military service. They do so on grounds like conscience, religion, freedom of thought, etc. The first ever record of a conscientious objector was in ancient Rome as far as back as 295 AD in the West. A man by the name of Maximilianus was conscripted to the Rome army, but claimed that he could not serve due to his religious convictions, and he was consequently executed. A very early recognition was granted to the Dutch Mennonites by William the Silent in 1575. They were granted the right to refuse military service in exchange for money. This provision was not a formal legislation. However, the later first happened in 1757 following Quake's attempts to form a British militia as a national military service. The Militia Ballot Act allowed the aforementioned Quakers to be exempt from the military service. The United States, since very funding, has permitted conscientious objectors through regulation of the provision was left to independent states. Conscientious objectors are philosophically linked to the anti-war movement. Throughout history, people have protested war. The roots of the movement date back to the American Revolutionary War, when British people protested against British war intervention in America, which led to the House of Commons voting against further war in America in 1783. So the roots of the movement date back to American Revolutionary War, when British people protested against British war intervention in America, which led to the House of Commons voting against further war in America in 1783. This eventually led to the Peace of Paris. So Maximilianus refuses to serve in the Roman army and is consequently executed in 295 AD. And William the Silent recognizes consentius objectus and gives Dutch minorities the right to refuse military service in 1575. The Militia Ballot Act allows Quakes to refuse military service. The Militia Ballot Act 1956. Anti-war protest in Britain leads to the House of Commons voting against further British participation in the American Revolutionary War in 1783. Each country has a different system of recognition though, but if you are working in the military, you can be a consentious object. These churches oppose war. These include Mennonites, Quakers, and Church of Bethlehem. Certain countries send consentious objectors to the jail because they are denying their service, which is against the service rules. And they do in certain countries, depending on whether consentious objections are legally recognized or not, where if there are no provisions and legally not recognized, you may be terminated from the service or you may be sent to jail as per the existing rules and regulations. So if you are not familiar with what a consentious objector is, look up and learn so that you can exercise your option whenever there is a choice or whenever there is a provision. The concept of consentious objectors is rooted in the anti-war movement. Try to understand if you are so inclined. Help International Consentious Objectors Day by raising awareness. And the anti-war movement officially began to protest American involvement in the Vietnam War. The anti-war movement is also known as a peace movement. Ali famously refused conscription and consequently faced a 3-year ban from boxing. King George famously supported the movement, and US President Richard Nixon vowed to snuff out the protest, claiming that silent majority supported the war. So this day raises awareness about existence of consentious objectors. Considering that the term isn't that well known, this awareness is immensely important. War is incredibly destructive and traumatizing, and this day helps highlight anti-war sentiments to oppose structures supporting war. Consentious objectors present very valid criticisms of war. We think that they are extremely important to highlight. Family is not an important thing. It's everything. The family unit began with the first humans, while families today may look different than they did thousands of years. They are as equally important now as they were then. The United Nations believed family is important enough to recognize them through a day of observance. That's how this International Families or International Day of Families was seen, as already discussed. So we'll move on to another commemoration for the day, hypermemesis. Gravidarium Awareness Day. Hyperemesis Gravidarium Awareness Day is observed annually on May 15 to increase awareness of the pregnancy complications hyperemesis gravidarum or gravidarum. Hyperemesis gravidarum, in short known as HG, is a misunderstood condition that is often confused with morning sickness. HG symptoms, which are nausea and vomiting, are more severe than morning sickness that can lead to dehydration and weight loss. HG is potentially life-threatening and affects 1% of pregnancies. Besides increasing understanding of this pregnancy complication, HG Awareness Day aims to build a broader community of HG survivors. The Hyperemesis Gravidarum Awareness Day was first held by the HER Foundation on May 15, 2012. The HER Foundation is a non-profit charity established in 2003 by Kimber, Wakefield, McGibbon, Annie Mary King, and Jeremy King. Both McGibbon and Mary are HG survivors. It was in 2000 when the McGibbon put the first comprehensive site about HG online, dedicated to help women suffering from HG and those who have survived it. The HER Foundation is the leading website for HG information. The HER Foundation provides support, advocacy, research, and education to all women who are suffering from HG. So HG is said to be a leading cause of hospitalization in early pregnancy. It is defined as a potentially life-threatening pregnancy complication. Often confused with morning sickness, HG symptoms include more severe nausea and vomiting. HG may also cause dehydration, weight loss, malnutrition, and even long-term health issues for mothers and babies. If given early Medicare to manage the symptoms and minimize nutritional deficiency, there is a high chance for both the mother and a baby to be healthy. If not, HG can lead to premature labor. There are initial signs that a woman is developing HG. They commonly include weight loss of 2 pounds weekly, recurrent ketosis, frequent or severe nausea and or vomiting, dehydration, severe fatigue, and inability to work. The most effective treatments for HG are nutritional therapy, IV fluids, bed rest, and medications. Since each woman responds differently to treatments, multiple medications may be needed. The recovery from HG takes an average of 4 to 6 months, but it may take a few years if the HG was severe and prolonged due to malnutrition. So Kimber Wakefield McGibbon survives hyperemesis gravidarum types in 1990. So Kimber Wakefield McGibbon puts the first comprehensive site about HG online in 2000 that served as a beginning. Anne Mary King suffers from severe hyperemesis gravidarum in 2001. The HER Foundation is established as a non-profit charity in 2003. HG Awareness Day is first held on May 15, 2012. So according to the studies, women with HG are more likely to give birth to girls. In the 8th month of pregnancy is crucial. The final term of the pregnancy is for the full development of the baby's brain and other vital organs, including the heart, eyes, lungs, kidneys, immune system, and intestinal system. More than 75% of women have hyperemesis gravidarum with every pregnancy. So HG is common in first pregnancies. The risk of HG may decrease after age 35. More severe HG in women can lead to pneumothorax, vernix encephalopathy, or even death. If HG mothers are not treated effectively, there is 3.6-fold increased risk of emotional or behavioral disorders and autism for babies. 18% of the women with HG are said to report full criteria of post-traumatic stress syndrome. It can also lead to miscarriage. Women with HG have a risk of miscarriage. So, HG is often confused with morning sickness, so hypermesis gravidarum awareness is a chance to raise awareness of HG, its symptoms, and its treatments. HG can lead to serious problems and even death. More people must know about HG. To the pregnant women suffering from it can be treated immediately and adequately to prevent them from developing more severe HG. So this week is also commemorated as Youth Week in New Zealand from May 15 to 21, which is a major cultural event in the nation. New Zealanders get into a festive mood every year to mark Youth Week every May. It is a nationwide carnival of events to recognize and laud the talents, passion, and achievements of local young people, also known as Rangatahi. This theme changes every year, and the theme of Youth Week was 2022 was Our Voices Matter and We Deserve to Be Heard. So the first Youth Week was held in Canada in 1995 with a handful of events scattered throughout the country. The initiative had gathered momentum ever since, and today it is celebrated annually in many countries around the world. So, Etora or the North Island first marked Youth Week in late 1990s, and the New Zealand Association for Adolescent Health and Development launched the first festivals. Then later entrusted its celebrations to Aratoihi in 2010. The YMCA, which was started in Auckland in 1855, was New Zealand's first youth organization. It expanded its reach to other regions soon after. All the Youth Week festivities are conceived and organized by the young New Zealanders. For the general public, the event inspires them to value, support, and affirm the diversity of young people. Youth Week is coordinated by Aratoihi, a body for youth development in Aratoria, and is supported by the Ministry of Youth. The events are designed to encourage young people 12 to 24 years old to share ideas, take on challenges, and focus on positive aspects of being young. Many children and youth face significant social challenges in New Zealand, such as addiction, poverty, violence, inequality, and poor mental well-being, which affect their prospects. The government of New Zealand has enacted legislation that is focused on well-being of the children and poverty reduction. The work is being managed by the Child Wellbeing and Poverty Reduction Group, which was established in February 2018 and consists of the Child Wellbeing Unit and Child Poverty Unit. This week is also commemorated as Water Saving Week in United Kingdom, which is an annual online event that aims to promote awareness of water-related concerns. And it seeks to awareness about the need of reducing water wastage to manage climate change, maintain our environment healthy, and assist local communities in thriving. The organization hopes to link people to how being water efficient may help communities and animals thrive, lower our carbon footprint, save money, and help keep the United Kingdom beautiful by sharing ideas, solutions, and the associated issues. Water Saving Week isn't simply about regulators devising long-term policies. It's about each individual thinking more deliberately about how we use water and appreciating it more, hoping to use less of it. Water is necessary for human survival and life in general. This inorganic, transparent, tasteless, odorless, and almost colorless chemical substance is the main component of the Earth's hydrosphere and the fluids of all known living species. A corpus of study in the domains of planetary science, astronomy, astrobiology has focused on the origin of water on Earth. Earth is the only rocky planet known to contain seas of liquid water on its surface, making it unusual among the solar system rocky planets. The population of our world is increasing. This means that there will be a larger need for water. Meanwhile, global warming is disrupting the water cycle, resulting in the less fresh water entering reservoirs, rivers, and aquifers. As a result, our planet is becoming more crowded with less easily available water to go around. The way people in the United Kingdom utilize water has evolved dramatically during the last 50 years. Individuals consume around 2,705 ounces of water per day in the 1960s. The amount peaked at 5,072 ounces in the recent decade. The UK average has now slipped back to roughly 4,733 ounces. So, to reduce water wastage, water conservation saves money. Installing basic technologies like water-saving taps and showers would save both water and energy by reducing the usage of hot water. Reduce shower duration by 1 minute every day to help save $240 million on the United Kingdom's annual energy expenditures. Because a family of 4 might consume more than 16,900 ounces of water every day, on an average of 4,800 ounces per person. So the United Nations recognized the human right to water and sanitation, which means that everyone has a right to enough continuous, safe, acceptable, and cheap water. Although the world is commonly referred to as blue planet, less than 1% of the water on the planet is usable fresh water. The dripping tap that leaks 1 drop every second may squander almost 2,985 gallons each year. So every drop matters. Immediately fix the tap. The average amount of water consumed per person per day in England and Wales is 4,800 ounces and 5,500 ounces in Scotland and 4,900 ounces in Northern Ireland. The human brain is composed of 73% water. So it's all in your body. Our usage of water and energy is inextricably intertwined. The use of hot water in houses is a major source of emissions. Half of England's rivers are over-abstracted, endangering aquatic ecosystems and biodiversity. Using water effectively involves reducing the number of additional water resources extracted from our rivers and aquifers, which is especially important when demand rises. It creates safe communities. Firefighters, hospitals, street cleaners, health clubs, gyms, and restaurants all rely on vast volumes of water to offer community services. By reducing our water consumption, we can ensure that these services can also continue to be supplied. This week is also commemorated as National Volunteering Week in Ireland, which aims to celebrate volunteers and the marvelous things they have helped organizations and individuals achieve. Every year, there is a different theme that guides the week-long celebration. The theme for 2022 was Celebrate and Connect, with each day having a sub-theme ranging from environment to arts and culture. National Volunteering Week was established in 1974 by a presidential proclamation to underline volunteering opportunities for everyone inclined. The formal practice of volunteering dates back to 5th century England with over 500 hospitals that operates because of volunteers. However, people have been helping others for many years before that. In the 17th century, the word volunteering was used for the first time. The word entered daily vocabulary in the 18th century when people began willingly joining military service. Organized volunteering was born from the war. Young people, women mainly would come together to help wounded soldiers and collect samples. This week is also commemorated as National Vegetarian Week in United Kingdom, which occurs on third week of every May every year. And it is endorsed by the Vegetarian Society to help more people enjoy a vegetarian diet. It's all about disproving the misconceptions that vegetarian food is bland. It is perfect for veggie events of all kinds, from street food experiences and pop-up themed veggie dining to a large-scale foodie festivals. From mac and cheese to hummus pasta dishes, tantalizing curries, veggie stir fries, and many more. There are countless options to whet one's appetite. So vegetarianism is a lifestyle that traditionally linked to the people in India in ancient times. They have held on this practice, and today more than 70% of the world vegetation population is Indian. The first vegetarian society was founded in England in 1847. The first national celebration of vegetarianism started as a single day in 1992. Over time, the holiday gradually increased its popularity and morphed into an entire week as more people showed interest in the vegetarian lifestyle. Several other organizations focusing on specific aspects of the vegetarian lifestyle have also emerged alongside with the Vegetarian Society. Some are the Vegetarian Housing Association, which provides sheltered accommodation across the UK, and British Vegetarian Youth Movement, which coordinated outdoor activities and social events for many years. Restaurants picked up on the public enthusiasm and expanded their vegetarian offerings on their menus. These days, there are countless vegetarian-specific restaurants worldwide, and list keeps growing. In addition, grocery stores now offer a large variety of vegetarian options. This proves there is a growing market for meatless products and meatless alternatives. There is also an International Vegetarian Week from October 1st to 7th. It features many events that promote vegetarian lifestyle, and this week is an annual event that begins with the Vegetarian Day. This week is also commemorated as National Stationery Week in the United States. It is all about celebrating the art of writing, making crafts, organizing office supplies, and enjoying the smooth strokes of a watercolor brush or craft paper. This week is also commemorated as National Police Week in the United States. It's also a time for police officers to honor their fallen colleagues, make sure those surviving them are also supported, as well as to remember their commitment to keeping people safe. Citizens and civilians can also celebrate the day by showing some love and gratitude to the policemen around them. This week is all about honor, gratitude, remembrance, servitude, and peer support. This week is also commemorated as Learning at Work Week in United Kingdom. Promotes the development of learning cultures in workplace. It tries to highlight the significant and advantages of ongoing learning and growth. Learning at Work Week is coordinated nationwide with the campaign for learning, which provides tools and ideas for learning. Throughout the week, business around the UK host a variety of training events for their staff, including workshops, speeches, and activities. And it's all about building connections and leveraging network technologies to help and support education with the app theme, Learning Uncommon. This week is also commemorated as International Heritage Breeds Week, aims at increasing global awareness of endangered farm animal heritage, breeds in modern animal industry or husbandry. Many of our old cattle and poultry varieties have been replaced with improved types, resulting in the tremendous loss of genetic diversity. So, every month, roughly one domesticated livestock breed goes extinct. The Livestock Conservancy, a conservation organization dedicated to preserving unusual breeds, hosts International Heritage Breeds Week. As no one would imagine that these breeds would be on the verge of extinction. However, contemporary farming practices have resulted in a diversity education. This week is also commemorated as Dementia Awareness Week in UK. Finally, this week is also commemorated Bike to Work Week. In US, pedal your way to the healthy living and safer transportation is Bike to Work Week, falling on third Friday of May, which runs from 15th May to 21st May this year. It is sponsored by the League of American Bicyclists, which are held from coast to coast across the US, various bike-related activities. Apart from that, we have lots of commemorations, but due to paucity of time, I shall end it here. Thank you everyone for joining. Feedback form has been raised in the form of Zoom polls. We request everyone to give their feedback. Every day you can register with the same link, but registration is mandatory. So we request everyone, those who have not registered, after filling up this feedback form, you can find the link in chat box. If you have any queries, you can raise your hand. If you do not have any, then we shall conclude it here. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, quickly fill up the feedback form. It's mandatory. Dear friends, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form. Yeah, Christina, you can unmute yourself if you have any query. Request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Christina, good evening.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's afternoon here in Nigeria, and good evening, everyone. I want to first of all thank you, Dr. Ravindra, and everyone that have made this session possible. I want to thank you for the opportunity to learn, especially on this very important topic as it concerns us, women, and our reproductive health. Thank you very much. It's been a great time of learning for me today, and I learned a lot. I want to say thank you, Doctor, for giving us this elaborate insight on areas of our health. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Keep joining daily for more such information we can share and learn together.
Yes, thank you very much.